I could pinpoint the exact moment my luck turned. It was a morning at the end of November, in the hills around Girona, the first day of pre-season training camp, my first day back in Europe after 3 long months of recovery. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. The crisp autumn air was the perfect temperature for cycling, and I was back on the road, not the smallest suspicion of what was about to hit me. Hurtling down my favourite set of wild hairpins in the high scrubby hills, I hunched into position for the next sharp curve with a grin twisting my lips. I leaned in and took the corner at speed, but, before I could straighten up, something flew in my face. Something big and bulging and made of plastic. Panicking and flinging it away with both hands, I lost balance and skidded into the dirt. I came down. Hard. Gravel gouging my hip and tearing up my shorts. With a crunch, I came to a stop in the rocks by the side of the track. "Fuck!" emerged from my mouth on my next heavy breath, as I blinked back shock. Pain burned up my back and flared out, followed by stinging at my hip and an ache in my knee. But, instead of swelling to a throb that suggested something was very wrong with my body, a feeling I knew well, the discomfort ebbed and I stared up at the wispy sky, framed by dark evergreen oaks. Lifting my head gingerly, I tugged off my protective sunglasses and peered to my left, glimpsing the prone form of another cyclist, tangled up in his bike. Yep, I hadn't imagined it. It appeared we'd been taken out by a blow-up doll. It was all her fault, the empty-eyed, pouty-lipped caricature of a woman bobbing rather pitifully in the breeze. If this had been the Giro d'Italia or the Tour de France, it might not have been surprising. I'd seen everything along the side of the course, from fans in gorilla suits to someone dressed as the Grim Reaper, complete with a rubber scythe he'd held out in front of the peloton. But we weren't on the Alpe d'Huez, and the only spectators were the birds of prey playing in the updraft, and the blow-up doll that some idiot had filled with helium and attached to the other guy's bike, along with a bunch of balloons. Seeing the familiar blue and orange of the other guy's jersey, I suspected I knew the idiot in question. My knee twinged when I hauled myself to my feet. I'd ripped a hole in my shorts and could look forward to picking some gravel out of my skin when we got back, but I was still in one piece. I'd had injuries like this 100 times in my career, along with knocked-out teeth and assorted broken bones, but the stab of fear was new, as was the urge to clutch my back even though the action didn't have the slightest effect on my lingering nerve pain. The pain that the physio assured me was only in my head, although it still fucking hurt. Pain. Fear. I couldn't afford either of them. Propping my hands on my thighs and slowing my breathing, I imagined the headlines. Lori Gallagher's return to road racing after catastrophic injury scuppered during training by a rogue sex doll. But my body held and I stomped over to check on my fellow victim, giving the doll a punch in the face that relieved a good portion of my frustration. "Are you alive?" "That depends on whether you're the angel of death," the other rider groaned in response. A ripple of awareness tingled across my skin. That voice. A gamut of emotions clamoured for my attention, and it took me a second to whack them all back into their holes. I couldn't afford guilt either, or that warm, fuzzy thing that felt like a pleasant version of indigestion, both of which I associated with my online friend, my former online friend.